Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa, Sarudikacharya, Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Sarudikacharya, Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavadgita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 27th day of June 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 6, entitled Dhyana Yoga, the Yoga of Meditation. We're on text 24, page 278. I came prepared. Could be allergies, a summer cold, something. You have something like that? Okay. Text 24. Sanishchayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa pabhavan kamans chakva sarvana sheshataha manasayavindriya gramam viniyamya samantataha sanishchayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa pabhavan kamans chakva sarvana sheshataha manasayavindriya gramam viniyamya samantataha. Damodar. Sanishchayena yoktavyo yogo nivinna chetasa sankalpa pabhavan kamans Chaktva sarvana sheshataha manasayavendriya gramam viniyamya samantataha sanishchayena yoktavyo yogo nivinna chetasa sankalpa pabhavan kamans Taktva sarvana sheshataha manasayavendriya gramam viniyamya samantataha. So that nishchayena, with firm determination, yoktavyaha must be practiced, yogaha, yoga system, anirvinna chetasa, without deviation. Sankalpa, mental speculations, prabhavan, born of, kaman, material desires, chaktva, giving up, sarvan, all, asheshataha, completely. Manasa, by the mind, eva certainly, indriya gramam, the full set of senses, viniyamya, regulating, samantataha, from all sides. Translation. Lord Krishna says, one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Purport. The yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsahan nishtayad dharyat tat tat karma pavartanat sangha tyagat sato vritte shadbir bhakti prasiddhiti. One can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination, by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees, and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. Upadeshamrita 3. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow, who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate toward his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is a not unusual way in which Krishna is developing this chapter. He's already explained the highest goal in previous 3 verses, if you recall. I'll just read them. This gives us the wonderful experience for one who succeeds in this practice of dhyana yoga, the yoga of meditation. This perfection of meditation, this is at the top of page 276, this perfection is characterized, let's start at the bottom of page 275. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, One's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even amidst of the greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So what he's describing there is a situation, a state of consciousness that is at the pinnacle of our present aspirations. Everybody is aspiring to be happy, and the more the merrier, right? If possible, let's be infinitely happy, and with not a tinge of distress. Now, in our ordinary course of life, we soon learn that that's impossible. As children, you may recall any little reversal or thing that happens, and immediately it's like the end of the world. You're wailing away. You know, why, you know, my friend beat me up or something. It's just the vicissitudes of life. And if you know, suddenly it's your birthday and nice things happen, you think you're on top of the world. But soon you learn in material life that has its ups and downs, the pleasures are limited, and the pains also go away, and this is what life is all about. But factually, if we had our aspirations fulfilled, we would try to increase our happiness unlimitedly. Why does it have to end? That's the big problem. It ends. No matter how, you know, you may aspire to have some experience, maybe you actually have the experience, and maybe it meets your expectations or exceeds them, but even if it does, it comes to an end. And that itself is a big fly in the ointment in the material world. So the basic teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is that we're spiritual beings, we're not matter. And as spirit, our birthright, our original state, is one of unending bliss. Why? Because we're part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. And that Supreme Spirit is what we commonly know as God. And, but the conception of God is kind of very crippled compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with the details of the spiritual world and the activities in that spiritual world and kingdom of God. That's really what is being presented by the books. Bhagavad Gita is just the beginning. So that's our home. That's our paradise. And we've lost it. We've left it due to our rebelliousness against the Supreme. And we're trying to be little gods here, and we're failing because it's just not our role. It's not our position. We remain infinitesimal. Although we never die and we're never born, we're infinitesimal particles of consciousness. And our natural state, our natural position is to be part and parcel, is to act as servants of the Supreme Consciousness, the Supreme Person. So this particular chapter deals with a kind of yoga called meditative yoga, in which dhyana means meditation, in which you're trying to link up, that's what yoga means, through the process of controlling the mind and thinking, focusing the mind on the Supreme. And Krishna makes it very clear in text 22, is it? Where do we describe it? Anyway, previous text, that he is the object of that meditation, and that Lord in the heart, the Lord in the heart. So if one is able, now it's not an easy process. Remember, he said, go alone, go to some secluded place. Traditionally in India, the great yogis go into the mountains, they go into the Himalayas, there's all these little ashrams in the caves and all these things. It's completely antithetical to the kind of life that we lead. But this is the prescription. If you want to practice this kind of yoga, you have to do it in a secluded place where it's very quiet and peaceful, idyllic, and there's no distractions, and then you can start working on the mind, and which is hard to control. Try it. You know, we all have experience. The mind goes here, it goes there. You may try to control it. It thinks of this and that. So that's why determination is so essential. But if you're able to succeed, here's the result. And it says, boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses, establishes one thinks there's no greater gain, and never shaken, even in the greatest difficulty, old age, disease, death, earthquake, whatever may happen, you're still able to remain fixed because you've trained the mind like that. And this is indeed freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So now this is the two sides. One is your boundless happiness, and the other side is free from miseries. That's always the ultimate goal. And this is saying this, you can attain it. Krishna's not making this up. So now from this, you would think, well, maybe the chapter ends there. He just described, no. Then he describes, well, if you want this, let's go back to the basics here. You have to be engaging in the practice. Now we're back to the practice. You have the sadhana. Sadhana is a practice. We practice sadhana bhakti. And then there's the sadhya. Sadhana, sadhya. Sadhya is the goal. You can apply this principle to anything. Suppose you want to become a doctor. Okay, there's a sadhana, so many years of college and tests and study, and that requires austerity. No, you can't do this. You can't party all night. You have to, you're taking the test. In other words, it's discipline. And at the end of that, 4 years, 8 years, how long does it take to become a doctor? A medical doctor. I'm an MD now. Now I can open my practice, success. So you reach the goal. So the sadhana is all of that, applying, paying all that money, going into debt probably, tests, hours of study, organic chemistry. When I was in Chicago University 50 years ago, 50 years ago, I would talk to all the students, and they said, that's really where, the ones who can't make it fall away. Organic chemistry is very, very difficult to master. Anyway, so then you get through that, okay, now you have your sadhya, you have your degree. So anything like that, athletics, music, any field of endeavor, there's a right way to do it, there's a wrong way to do it, there's a teacher or teachers, there's often a book, a shastra, right? People have been on this path before, right? And they've succeeded. Don't speculate and waste time, and do it the right way. So in the process of yoga, there are all these do's and don'ts, and if you accept them, do's, and reject the don'ts by force of will, you have to be determined, then you'll make rapid progress. So this is one of those verses now, 24, where he's describing, here's what you have to watch out for. You have to practice yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. That means that some get deviated from the path. They're called yoga brashta. Right? Even in our bhakti yoga, we find that there are people who become deviated from the path because it's also austere. It's not like this, but it is something. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation. Well, that's a pretty tall order. Any desire that doesn't directly pertain to serving Krishna in our bhakti yoga process, well, we've got rid of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H desire. That's finished now. But I'm just still working on I and J, right? So it's not so easy. And thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Now in this purport, Prabhupada quotes from the Upadeshamrita. Upadeshamrita is a very, very concise book by Rupa Goswami, one of our great teachers, lived 400 to 500 years ago. And it's written in Sanskrit. In 11 verses, he gives essential instruction. That's what Upadesh Amrita, the nectar of instruction, essential instruction. And in this short work, he describes 6 things that will destroy your bhakti and 6 things that will make your bhakti flourish, make your devotion to Krishna flourish. So the one that Prabhupada quotes is the positive one, what to cultivate. Utsahan nishtayat dharyat. So utsahan means enthusiasm. You have to be enthusiastic. And that's true for anything. If you're just going through the motions, you'll never succeed in anything. You have to put your heart and soul into it. And that means you have to have faith. Faith is a very important aspect of Krishna consciousness, because we're dealing with things that are beyond the range of our material perception. Right? We're saying that God is in everything. Well, I can't see him. The scientists say, well, you guys are just, But we're saying, wait a minute, there's all of these yogis who refine their consciousness and they were able to perceive things that ordinary people can't perceive. We have a whole line of realized souls who are claiming the same thing, that Krishna is in everyone's heart, that they perceive the form of God, you know. Okay, well I can disbelieve that, but then I can't solve my problem. I have a problem, and that is that time is passing. Everything is moving through my fingers. I can't hold on to anything here. It's a great illusion to think that you have some permanent position here. So how am I going to solve the problem of death? You know, the way people solve it, forget about it, right? But you can't forget about it because eventually disease comes, and that's the harbinger of death if you don't do anything about it. And that's what we have now. When capitalism, let's talk about capitalism. Capitalism is simply the exaltation of greed as the greatest moving force in society, material desire, right? Let's exploit, build up capital, and you know, we'll expand this way. Now we're coming to the ends of the ability of the earth to absorb all this. That's what all of this climate change is about. Because in order to build up, you have to, you know, burn fossil fuels. You have to move here and there. The big, you know, thing. Now, oh my God! Now too much carbon dioxide. So, the exploitation of the earth in an attempt to be happy through material things, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because your real happiness cannot be, the senses are limited in their ability to enjoy. And when you exploit others and you go to wars and all of that stuff, that's also in your consciousness. Your karma just doesn't come next life. It comes right away. If you become cruel and insensitive and hard-hearted, that in itself is a big misery. Just being like that. Restricting seeing all the suffering that you produce. Yeah? A simple life, saintly life of chanting Hare Krishna and giving people books of knowledge. You're way happier than these billionaires, believe me. To become a millionaire or multi-millionaire billionaire, you've got to step all over a whole bunch of people. It's just the way it is. So, and that's the ideal. That people, you know, they envy the rich and the famous, the lives of the rich and famous. They want to emulate them, you know, get a little celebrity, rub off on me. Maybe I'll play the lottery. It's up to $400 million. You know, maybe that can be me. They've done a study that the people who win the lotteries are miserable, by and large, more than the ordinary Joe. You can imagine. You're just, you know, assuming you have a job, you're going to work every day, right? And you have your circle of friends, and you have your life, and you're more or less associated. And then suddenly you have $50 million. Now what do I do? They don't know how to spend it. They don't know what to do with it. And suddenly all these friends and relatives come out of the woodwork. You know, can you give me a loan? I know you just won the lottery. Can you give me a loan? You know, it's a story. So Sanatana Goswami. This is a very pertinent story because he was a great saint actually before he was drafted into the government of in the early 16th century in Bengal. He was a Brahmin, and his brother was another Brahmin. His brother was Rupa Goswami. So the Muslims were ruling there, and in order to control all the Hindus, the best thing that they could do would be to get somebody they respected in the government, you see. And then the people would be more docile. The British knew that also. So they forced him to join the government. They said, if you don't become our minister, the king said, then we're going to persecute the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. So he says, okay, we'll become. So this is how they would do. So they amassed a lot of wealth. They felt that they were fallen because they had to work in the government, you know. But they had a tremendous amount of wealth. And, but they're still Vaishnavas. And then eventually Lord Chaitanya came to the city where they were set up, Ramkeli. And they were just overwhelmed with his, you know, divinity and everything, and they wanted to surrender. That's where they approached him, and that same verse, Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Premadayate. Oh, you are the most munificent avatar, you're Krishna himself. You're giving the most rare gift freely, prema, love of God. Hare Krishna, welcome. Darshan in half an hour darshan. Half an hour from now. Okay. You can get some seats. You're welcome to sit, and if you like. Maybe if they want some chairs, go out and get some chairs. That's all. So anyway, they wanted to surrender to Lord Chaitanya, and he said, okay, get free from the government and go to Vrindavan. I'll meet you there. So they started to do that. Rupa Goswami liquidated all his assets. He had a big boat full of gold coins. You can imagine how much that is worth. How much is gold per ounce? Any idea? So it's over $1,200 an ounce. You know? And he had like a whole boat of gold coins. He's a billionaire. So what did he do with the money? He gave 25% to his relatives because they wanted something. He gave 25% to the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. Welcome. See if we have some books. You can get the books. On page 278. You can read all these books here. There's nobody here. And so he divided it, and he gave so much, and then he kept 25% for, he gave 50% for the Vaishnava Brahmins, kept 25% for emergencies. And he put it, just imagine how honest they were, in the hands of an honest grocer to hold on to. Like $100 million. Anyway, so quite an honest grocer. So that was for his brother. So he was able to go, and he left and he went to Vrindavan. But his brother, Sanatan, he was staying at home. He quit, and he just went home and he studied Bhagavad Purana with a bunch of scholars. So finally the king said, I need you. You know, you're my prime minister. So he went to his home to see it, you know, to visit him, and he wasn't sick at all. He had called in sick, so to speak. And he was just, you know, there with the Brahmins and studying the Bhagavad. So what is this? And so he arrested him. He arrested him, the minister, put him in jail. So Sanatan Goswami, how to get out of jail. So his brother's money was there, so he offered to bribe the jailer to let him free. And he was afraid. But he got it down up to like 8,000 gold coins. You can imagine for a jailer, that was like retirement money. And finally he let him go. And so he had to go by the back roads all the way to, you know, Vrindavan. He actually went first to Varanasi, and there, or Benares, and there he was instructed by Lord Chaitanya. But in the process of going, he had an aide with him named Ishan. And Ishan, you know, was very, good helper. So he took 8 gold coins, and maybe we'll need something on the road. And meanwhile, they're traveling in the back roads and everything. And finally, they come to a tract of land that it was very difficult to get over. And there was an inn. There was a little motel, hotel there. And the hotel owner, he had an astrologer who said, oh, the 2 travelers coming, they have 8 gold coins with them. So this innkeeper said, oh, they're just strangers. I'll just kill them and for the money, you know. So it was daytime. He was going to do it at night. So Sanatan came to him and he asked him to please help him get across the dangerous tract of land. And the innkeeper said, oh yes, certainly. Do you stay the night, you know. But Sanatan was a diplomat. He'd worked in the government, you know, with the king. So he said, why is he so eager to help me like this? Maybe he knows something, you know. So he asked, do you have something valuable with you? And Ishan, his aide, says, yes, I have 7 gold coins. And so Sanatan became angry. Why are you keeping this death knell with us? Give me. So he gave him the 7 gold coins, and then Sanatan said, here, to the innkeeper, here, take this as a gift and get us across the tract of land. And the innkeeper said, oh, thank you. You saved me from a great sin because I was going to murder you tonight for these gold coins. And my astrologer told me you had 8 gold coins with you. So now just by my, you know, because you're so honest and good, I'll help you across the land. Okay? So Sanatan said, Ishan, I think you have some more gold with you. He said, yes, master, I have 1 gold coin. Take it and go home. So now he got across the land. Now he's free. See? He felt so free. He had nothing of value. He was sannyasi. He just had nothing. So who's going to rob him? You see? So and from millions of dollars, he came down to nothing now because he was in the government. So then he has travel, and he comes across, he happens to meet one of his relatives, a brother-in-law or something, you know, and he often, you know, he wanted to stay the night. I said, sure, come on. And says, why don't you stay for a few days, you know? Because he knew. Said, I'm not going to stay here at all, you know, maybe one night, because I don't want to get wrapped up again in material affairs. So the brother-in-law, he said, well, at least take this nice shawl to stay warm, a chadar, you know, so he accepted that. And then shortly thereafter, he's off again. And then he met Lord Chaitanya at Varanasi, and this is a whole wonderful pastime there. And Lord Chaitanya is looking at his fancy shawl. And he says, okay, I have to give this up. So he goes down to the riverbank where, you know, so many poor mendicants, they were washing their clothes. He has his ratty old, you know, torn cloth. He said, here, take this shawl and give me your torn cloth. And at first the man didn't believe him. He said, why are you joking with me? You know, he said, no, I'm joking, and take it. So then all he had was this poor little, you know, rejected cloth, and he was free, and he felt very free. And the idea is that when you're focused on Krishna, that itself is fulfilling. And the less you have materially, the less you're entangled. The less you feel bound. That's why the great acharyas like our six Goswamis, they achieve the highest level of renunciation. There's a very nice verse I'll give you. This is sung by one of our acharyas, Srinivasacharya. He wrote his songs to the six Goswamis, and one of the verses goes like this: Chaktva turnam ashesha mandala patishveni sada tuchavat budva dina ganeshako kadunaya kopina kantashito gopi bhavada samratabda hari kallola magno mahu vande rupa sanatano raghuyagoshi jiva gopala. I offer my respects and obeisances to the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, namely Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And especially now he's speaking about Raghunath Das, Sanatan, and Rupa. He says, Chaktva Turnam, they quickly rejected the vast circle of influence and opulence that they had built up. Raghunath Das was the son of a billionaire, and he gave it all up and became the most renounced. And Chaktva Turnam, Asheshamandata Srini Sadat Tuchava, they gave it up as very insignificant. And they became mendicants, Budva Dina Ganeshako, in order to help the people in general, out of their mercy, give them good instruction and good example. Karuneya, out of mercy, out of compassion. Kopina Kantashito, and they wrapped themselves in this rejected cloth, you know, rags basically. But what were they experiencing? What was their state of consciousness? If an ordinary person, if somebody billionaires or millionaires suddenly loses all their money, they can't live. They're used to a certain lifestyle. The poor, they can go on living in any circumstance. But if you have a lot of money, you suddenly lose it. Prabhupada gave an example. He knew someone during the war. Wartime, some people make a lot of money, some people lose everything. So this fellow had lost, Hare Krishna, welcome. This fellow had lost everything. He couldn't live. He committed suicide. You want to share? You need a share? Yeah, we have more. No, not a problem. Please come. So, but these six Goswamis, they were experiencing the highest happiness. How? Gopi Bhavara Samatabdal Hari Kallola Magno Mahur. I can't give you the page number because you've got a different edition there. Yes. Yeah, that's your old Macmillan edition. So they were again and again diving and sinking and drinking the ocean of nectar of Gopi Bhava, of the gopis' love for Krishna. The highest possible happiness they could experience. Had absolutely nothing to do with their material situation. They weren't even eating. They were every day, if they were lucky, if they remembered, they would eat a little chapati, a little chickpea or something. They would hardly sleep 1.5 hours, if that. And what were they doing? They were writing these books, and they were chanting Hare Krishna, and they were going through the groves and forests of Vrindavan. Hey Radhe, Vadadevi Lalidehi Nandasura. Oh Radha, where are you? Oh Krishna, where are you? Are you by Govardhan? Are you by Bansivada? They're looking for Krishna. In other words, they're in this highest ecstasy of separation and love from Krishna. And then they're writing about it, proving, Jiva Goswami especially, big philosophical treatises, And Rupa Goswami, one of the verses says they combed through all the Vedas. Bhagavad Gita, somewhat, Bhagavatam, all kinds of Vedas, to show that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate process of devotion, and that the worship of Radha Krishna in the mood of the Gopis is the highest teaching as given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is what the Goswamis did. It's on their writings that this whole movement is based. We read the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is only 700 verses, 700 sentences. It's like a 100-page book at maximum, you know. But this is a 1,000-page book. The purports, the explanations, the commentary, which is based on the writings of the Goswamis. On Baladev Vidyabhushan, who was the disciple of Vishwanath Chakrabarti, he was a follower of Rupa and Sanatan. So we're living on there. We're called Rupanugas. Anuga means followers of Rupa Goswami. So when we're reading Krishna's description here, but in Prabhupada's Utsahana Shayat Daryat, 624. So he's giving now in his Upadeshamrita these 11 essential instructions. So he says, text 2, Atyahara priyasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lalyancha shadvi bhakti pranashiti. That there are certain do's and don'ts. Any discipline that you have, there's the right way to do it, there's things that you have to accept and things that you have to reject. And the more you can do that, the quicker you'll advance. So these are the things, first he gives the things that block devotional service. Overeating, over-collecting, priyasas, and endeavor for material things. Remember I talked about how capitalism is ruining the world? That's priyasas to the nth degree. And laulyam, greed, is another one. Prajalpa, nonsense talk. The whole thing depends on the sound vibration. This is where our mind our consciousness is formed. What you listen to, what you read, what you write, you know, this whole process of devotional service is built on hearing and chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The japa means you're hearing and chanting your own japa. And kirtan means I hear you, you hear me, I chant, you chant. It's hearing and chanting. The name, form, qualities, philosophy, Bhagavad Gita of Krishna. So that prajalpa means other subject matters, of which there are thousands and millions, and which take your mind away from Krishna. So atyahara prayasacha prajalpo niyamagraha. Now niyamagraha means giving up the regulative activities. You know, it works for everything. I want to become, at one point I wanted to become a flute player. I actually played the flute a little bit many years ago. So I had to go to a teacher. You know, I had to get the instrument, go to a teacher, play the arpeggios, do a lot of work, you know, to get the rudimentary. But at a certain point I became distracted. I didn't become that great a flute player. You know, in other words, out of millions of people who want to become flute players, one becomes, you know, a concert player, and many become, you know, pikers. So, in other words, I deviated. Niyamagraha means I didn't follow all the rules and regulations of becoming a good flute player, and therefore I didn't succeed. So, then the other thing is, in this discipline, going through the motions. Yeah, I go to the temple once a week, you know, I gotta see the deity. But your mind isn't in it, you're on something, you know, you're not really serious. That's another meaning of niyamagraha. Jana sangha, as you associate, your consciousness is formed. Sangat sandayate kama. This is from chapter 2. It's a universal principle. As you associate, so your desires are formed. Every mother knows that they try to protect their child from bad association. You know, they send them to a camp, they make sure he goes to a good school. Why? So he doesn't hang out with the wrong people and get contaminated and deviate. Isn't it? And watch what he watches, what he reads. In other words, Sangha is everything. So here it says Sangat, what does it say? Jana Sangha, associating with ordinary people who are sure to talk prajalpa, who are sure to infect you with material desire and completely deviate your mind from the goal of life, which is to reconnect with Krishna and to get out of this round of birth and death. That's what we should have as our preliminary goal. And laulyam, the strong material desires, that's greed, is, you know, that these things prevent. Now, but here are the things that further it. So Prabhupada quotes right in the purport here, purport to 24, Utsahan nishtayadhyayat tattad karma pravartanat. Utsahan, enthusiasm. Anything you want to accomplish, you have to be enthusiastic, right? And nishtayad, but you can't be impatient. You have to be determined and patient. In other words, your enthusiasm has to be sustained over time. Because after all, we've been in this material world for millions of births. We've gotten a lot of bad habits, what's probably called conditioning. And to overcome that, it's not so easy. So we need to be enthusiastic and patient and determined. This is a measure of our faith also. Faith is an essential foundation of bhakti. Faith not only in the process, in the guru, in the shastra, in Krishna, but faith that Krishna can empower even us to overcome our difficulties and succeed. That's part of faith. So, Sangha Tyaga. Now here it's mentioned twice. One is associating with ordinary people will deviate you, will destroy your bhakti. Therefore, he gives it Sangha Tyaga, on the positive side, giving up bad association. That's one of the things that'll help. And Sato Vritte, following in the footsteps of those who've gone before, the great souls. We need exemplars for everything. This is a hero worship culture, isn't it? You got the sports heroes, you got the political heroes, you got the movie, all these celebrities. So Krishna says, whatever a great person does, ordinary people follow. It's just the nature of things. So the sadhus, these are our exemplars, not some material figures, but those who are great acharyas and goswamis and teachers and gurus in this line. This is, we try to emulate their activities. So that's the formula for success, giving up these 6 things and accepting these 6 things. So the Upadeshamrita is a very important book. I think we have it on the carousel out there. Okay, I'd like to read a little Krishna book. Any questions on these points? Yes, Prabhu.
I have a small comment.
Uh-huh.
Very much you gave the example of the millionaires and their ability to have much materially. The more you have materially, the more entangled you are.
Uh-huh.
And so I was distributing books last Saturday
Uh.
at a table with the Vedic literatures, and a couple speaking about the table. There's like a small family. They're very young, in their early 20s at least, at most. And it turns out that the wife or the girlfriend was the daughter of her stepfather was a millionaire.
Uh-huh.
And she had, she was just telling me how he was so miserable. And she had just had so much realization on material happiness was, has its flux. And it's just crazy that she comes from that background, and she was speaking to me as if she was like speaking Bhagavad. I was so amazed by her realizations. And now she's, even though coming from the background, they're like in the, like the not so good neighborhood in San Diego, by some refugee center, but she's happily situated with the family. They seem like, well situated.
Yeah, perfect realization. Yeah, it's good. Okay, I'm going to read. We're in a chapter which describes the bewilderment of Brahma, called Brahma Vimohan Leela, in the 10th canto. What I'm reading here is Krishna book. You know the books, Krishna book. The Krishna book is Srila Prabhupada's summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes Krishna's pastimes when he came to earth 5,000 years ago. And so this is one of his Vrindavan Leelas, where Brahma was astounded at Krishna's activities, and he couldn't quite believe that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. And so he stole his calves and he stole his boys and he put them in mystic slumber. And Krishna just expanded himself into an equal number of boys and calves. It was just all the idiosyncrasies, the special way of dressing everybody as individual. And he went on for a whole year playing like that. This was after he killed the Gasur, big snake. And so Brahma comes back after a moment of his time, which is a year of our time, and he sees Krishna still playing with the boys and calves, and he can't, what's going on? I thought I put them under my mystic slumber. And so, anyway, it goes on like this, and finally, Krishna, all these boys in caves turn into Vishnu forms, and everyone's worshipping them, and so Brahma is just completely bewildered. This is Brahma Vimohan, and he bows down. So this is before his prayers, which is chapter 14. I'll just read a little bit. Hare Krishna. We have to follow that sign out there. Maybe we should make it more prominent. Turn the phones off. Especially the transcendental forms of the Lord are beyond the reach of the impersonalists, who can only understand through studying the Upanishads that the absolute truth is not matter, or is it materially restricted, or is not materially restricted. From Krishna's expansion into the Vishnu forms, Brahma could understand by his limited potency that everything movable and immovable within the cosmic manifestation is existing due to the expansion of the energies of the Supreme Lord. When Brahma was thus standing baffled in his limited power and conscious of his limited activities within the 11 senses, he could realize that he was also a creation of the material energy, just like a puppet. As a puppet has no independent power to dance, but dances according to the direction of the puppet master, so the demigods and living entities are all subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the only master is Krishna, and all others are his servants. The whole world is under the waves of the material spell, and beings are floating like straws in the water. So their struggle for existence is continuing. But as soon as one becomes conscious that he is the eternal servant of the Lord, this Maya, or illusory struggle for existence, is immediately stopped. Lord Brahma, who has full control over the goddess of learning, Saraswati, and who is considered to be the best authority in Vedic knowledge, was thus perplexed, being unable to understand the extraordinary power manifested by the Lord Krishna. In the mundane world, even a personality like Brahma is unable to understand the mystic power of the Supreme Lord. Not only did Brahma fail to understand, but he was perplexed even to see the display which was being manifested by Krishna before him. Krishna took compassion upon Brahma because of his inability to see how Krishna was displaying the forms of Vishnu and transforming himself into the calves and boys. And thus, while fully manifesting the Vishnu expansions, Krishna suddenly pulled his curtain of Yogamaya over the scene. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord is not visible due to the curtain spread by Yogamaya. That which covers the reality is Mahamaya, or the external energy, which does not allow a conditioned soul to understand the Supreme Lord beyond the cosmic manifestation. Sorry about that. But the energy which partially manifests the Lord and partially does not allow one to see is called Yogamaya. Brahma is not an ordinary conditioned soul. He is far, far superior to all the other demigods, and yet he could not comprehend the display of the Lord. Therefore, Krishna willingly stopped manifesting any further potency. The conditioned soul not only becomes bewildered, but is completely unable to understand. The curtain of Yogamaya was drawn so that Brahma would not become more and more perplexed. When Brahma was relieved from his perplexity, he appeared to awaken from an almost dead state, and he began to open his eyes with great difficulty. Thus he could see the external cosmic manifestation with common eyes. He saw all around him the super excellent view of Vrindavan, full with trees, which is the source of life for all living entities. He could appreciate the transcendental land of Vrindavan, where all the living entities are transcendental to ordinary nature. In the forest of Vrindavan, even the ferocious animals like tigers live peacefully along with the deer and human beings. Isn't there something like that in the Bible, the peaceable kingdom? Yes, exactly. That's Vrindavan. He could understand that because of the presence of the Lord, Vrindavan is transcendental to all other places and is free of lust and greed. Brahma thus found Krishna, the Supreme Lord, playing the part of a small cowherd boy. He saw the little child with a lump of food in his left hand, searching out his friends and calves, just as he had actually been doing 1 year before, after their disappearance. Immediately, Brahma descended from his great swan carrier and fell down before the Lord just like a golden stick. The word used among the Vaishnavas for offering respect is dandavat. This word means falling down like a stick. One should offer respect to the superior Vaishnava by falling down straight with his body just like a stick. So Brahma fell down before the Lord just like a stick to offer respect, and because the complexion of Brahma is golden, he appeared to be like a golden stick lying down before Krishna. All the 4 helmets on the heads of Brahma, remember he has 4 heads, touched the lotus feet of Krishna. Brahma, being very joyful, began to shed tears, and he washed the lotus feet of Krishna with his tears. Repeatedly he fell and rose as he recalled the wonderful activities of the Lord. After repeating obeisances for a long time, Brahma stood up and smeared his hands over his eyes. Seeing the Lord before him, he, trembling, began to offer prayers with great respect, humility, and attention. And thus ends the Bhagavadgita purport of the 13th chapter of Krishna, the stealing of the boys and calves by Brahma. So we'll maybe begin the next chapter tomorrow. I haven't decided yet because it's quite a technical chapter full of a lot of philosophy. It may be a little difficult for this format, but we have many other chapters we can read. Thank you for your attention. We're going to have an artik in 4 minutes. You're all invited. And then we have some prasad. Please don't leave without it. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
You're in a class, you're taking notes. Did you get something you can use for the class?
Yes. And then what's it for?
This is called an arati. This is a traditional worship. You'll see our deity forms. There's a lot of notes to take on that. And we're going to be chanting Hare Krishna mantra. And then after we'll have a little vegetarian prasad. You can take some notes on it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
That sounds like I was right on time. So, oh, you come to the last? Oh, yeah.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtachari Shatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtachari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Yadvita Gadadhar Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Mo, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama. Govindan Jaya Jaya, Gopalan Jaya Jaya. Govindan Jaya Jaya, Gopalan Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Giridhari, Radha Giridhari Radhe. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Jai Mr. Pad, Paramahansa, Pradikacharya, Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine
Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mahi ki jai. Yamuna Mahi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. SanDiego Book Distribution ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to you and Radha. Kelly, you know, see?
Oh, sure. It's been a while. Thank you.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste. Halada halada dayine. Hiranyakashipo vakshaha. Ashilatanka nakalaye. Hito nisringa parito nisringo. Yato yato yamitato nisringa. Pahe nisringo didnaye nisringo. Narseham ading sharanat prapaje. Tavakara kamalavare nakam anbuta shringa. Sarita hiranyakashipu tanum bringa. Keshavadrita narahari rupa. Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Avakara Kamalavare, Naka Amrita Shringa, Tarika Hiranyakashipu, Tanum Bringa, Keshavadrita. Narahari Rupa, Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai.